feeling so small. Watch the clock ticking off the wall. But tonight I'm letting it go. Spend my coin for sure. I'm gonna be myself, or I could be someone else. No one's stopping me now.
Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. If you are new here, I'm so happy to have you. If you're my previous subscribers, welcome back. I'm so glad to have you back. So for today's video, we're going to specifically talking about the Titanic 2. Now, if you have not known, or you may have not been paying attention to the news since 2016, there's been reports of a billionaire in Australia who had ambition and a dream to visit and physically see the Titanic, RMS Titanic, and instead, because he's a billionaire, money can sometimes make you happy. He decided to go ahead and make the Blue Star Liner, RMS Titanic Replica. It's known as Titanic 2. If that doesn't tell you that you should get on that boat and, hope that you live, I mean, I don't know what will. Personally, I would never go on a boat like that just because then, the story is cursed. But anyway, besides the point, the RMS is indeed sailing, and right now it's still in the works. They think they're almost done with production. I'm not entirely sure. I know the COVID pandemic has postponed when it was set to sail in 2020. However, it is projected to sail as of now in 2022. And so in my intuition and my gut, I innately feel like one of the movies that I watched was known as, I'm going to show you on your screen right now, and I'll tell you how you can access this movie, Titanic 2. I feel like Titanic 2 is the replica. I'm going to call it the replica. So we have the original Titanic and then a Titanic replica, right? And I feel like in the movie, it's going to accurately portray what's going to happen to the boat. And I feel like it's almost like a prophetic movie that we saw ahead of time before it actually occurred. And so we're going to talk a lot about it in today's video. Now, I do apologize for a lot of you guys having to wait, as I've been trying to gather as much information to try to make this the most impactful but yet most entertaining video that you have seen. Hello, Angelic. What's up, love? I'm glad to have you back again. I hope that I'll be able to give you that sense of satisfaction and yet feeling like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that, or like something new and exciting. We all need something new, and I thought this would be an interesting topic to deviate from your typical politics. But without further ado, I'm not going to waste your time anymore. This is being live streamed on February 20th, 2022 at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is almost midnight, so happy to all of you guys, February 21st. There's no specific holiday, but whatever. I just feel like doing it. Here are some quick disclaimers on your screen. Now, please keep in mind this video is just for entertainment purposes only and for education purposes only as well. And here's some last-minute disclaimers, just so I don't get in trouble by YouTube. If you want to read them, just pause the video, and you can read them on your own time. All right, so let's jump into the main part of everything today. Right before I like to do a topic like this, I like to provide you with background information, which is why it takes me a little bit, so that you can understand why I'm covering this video in the first place. Alright, so my gut tells me that the fate of the boat Titanic will sink again, following a similar pattern as the movie called Titanic 2, which took place. The movie was premiered in 2010. Now, if you want to watch the movie for free, you can find it on Tubi, Vudu, or Pluto TV, which are all free streaming services that you can access through any device, including your TV. So it is free to watch. There's no reason for you to pay for it on any other streaming service that makes you pay. It is a free movie. You can watch it. There are avenues where you can watch this movie. And so what's really cool and what I found is that it's actually related. Now, what I have found with my tarot cards and my guide, they have told me everything that I've done on my channel is intermittently related to one another. And there's a reason why everything that I do, from politics to everything, it's all innately related to one another, which is why they follow a pattern on a very similar path. And each one is intermittently connected, very similar to a spider web. So remember when I talked to you guys about the dream that I had about the tornado, and I kept getting this dream, and that's what prompted me to start doing natural disaster videos? Well, during those natural disaster videos, I have innately said before I started my channel, and I mentioned this many times on my channel as well, that I kept seeing an East Coast tsunami, and that's why I want to get off Long Island. And Long Island, I'm stuck on an island. If the tsunami comes, I'm good as dead. And so I've been feeling for a very strong time, a very long time of a tsunami coming. And I wonder if this is going to be it. And I also had a poll out about 2 weeks ago, I believe, where I asked you guys what videos you wanted me to do. You all picked Doomsday Glacier and East Coast Tsunami, which will be happening right after this video or sometime this week or next week. It will be coming, and it's innately related to the Titanic video of today. So I will put that in the description below when it comes out and premieres. All right, so here's a little bit extra information. The reason for this feeling is the energy of the movie is a prophecy similar to the book, quote, The Wreck of Titan, or the Futility, that published in 1998 and was a book called The Titan. Actually, I think I put the wrong date in it. I think it was 1898. Excuse me, it was 1898 when the book came out. So it came out 14 years before the sinking of the Titanic. And what's really interesting about this book, that it talks about the crashing, the book, The Titan, crashed into an iceberg following the same exact route from the UK to New York City 14 years before it happened in 1912. What are the similarities between the book and the first Titanic? Quote, although the novel was written before the RMS Titanic was even conceptualized, there are some uncanny similarities between the fictional and real-life version. Like Titanic, the fictional ship sank in April in North America, and there was not enough lifeboats for all passengers. There were also similarities in size from 800 feet, which is 244 meters long for Titan, versus the 882 feet and 9 inches, 269 millimeters long for the Titanic itself, the original one. Speed and life-saving equipment after the Titanic sinking. Some people credited Robertson with precondition and clairvoyance, which he had denied that he did not see this. Scholars had attributed his similarities to Robertson's extensive knowledge of shipbuilding and maritime trend. We were going to question as whether or not he saw this and just denied it because maybe it wasn't normal during the time he made the book. Right, and then the next thing I want to talk about as well is just background knowledge before we do the tower reading. Once if you want, you can jump to the timestamps in the description below, and everything is listed there for you if you just want to jump ahead. Titanic 2 is a movie about, quote, a cruise liner set sailed in the 100th anniversary of the Titanic that was doomed maiden voyage when a tsunami hurled an iceberg into the ship's path. The crew and the passengers struggled to avoid suffering the same fate as their predecessors. The movie was released in August 24th, 2010, and it is a free movie to watch on streaming channels such as Tubi, Pluto TV, and Vudu. Oh my god, my mouth is dry. This isn't a prediction, but rather a common sense knowing and piecing the puzzle together from our other readings on natural disasters and climate change. The Doomsday Glaciers that I mentioned on the channel and the East Coast Tsunami is directly related to the boat voyage. Both my Doomsday Glacier video and East Coast Tsunami videos have not been made yet, but it was talked about plenty on the channel. Like I always say, every video is connected to one another in one form or another, and that's how me and my guys designed the channel. That's why it's very important to watch the videos in order, because there's a very specific reason why, as you can actually rewatch my videos, and there's new information in there that you may have missed. Which is kind of cool, because it's like an Easter egg. Even I don't realize until after I listen to it, like, oh, okay, that's new. What is a Doomsday Glacier? This is the nickname for the Doomsday Glacier. That's because its potential to raise sea level. We talked about rising sea level in my vision that I had about a year and a half ago. I believe it was a year ago. Don't quote me on that. I made a picture of what I saw in my head of the rising sea levels in the United States and how the United States is going to look by 2050. I don't have the picture now, but I do have a picture if you go to my natural disaster playlist. That's because there's potential to raise sea level, but those collapse isn't the only worry. The glacier collapse isn't the only worry. Its fall would destabilize other West Antarctic glaciers that could drag more ice into the into the ocean, rising sea level even higher. Now, if you don't know how glaciers work, think of them as big ice cubes and you put them in a cup of water, right? You have the cup of water is this high, right? You put one ice cube, it rises the water, right? Now you put another ice cube, it rises higher. You put another ice cube and it rises higher. Now when those ice melt, because they're solidified, when they melt, it overflows. That's the same thing. During the time of the dinosaurs, there was so much water because there was no ice. And so we're getting back to that point. Since the time of the dinosaurs, since the ice age, we are warming, right? That's common sense. When you're coming out of an ice age, it's common sense to know that the Earth is warming, not going a reversal. However, what they don't tell you is that when you go through global warming, you also go through a mini ice age, which we're going to also experience in this generation, which I have talked about on the channel. Now, if you're wondering what's the difference between the old and new Titanic, the Blue Star Line cruise will create an authentic Titanic experience, providing passengers with a ship that has the same interiors and cabin layout as the original vessel. Now, if that does not alarm you, it should, because the original layout had almost like, you ever seen like an ice tray, right? You know, like how they always had that little indent and you put water in it and the water will just go over each one. Kind of the same thing. There's a gap on the top of the door that allows the water to flow into another room. For example, if there was a hole in one room, the water would be condensed in that one room. But because the way the Titanic sunk, every room had a hole in it and the water kept sinking, and that's how the boat ended up sinking. So the cabin layout is not a good idea, especially if that's not something you want, especially if you're relearning, not to relive the experience, while integrating modern safety procedure, navigation methods, and the 21st century technology to produce the highest level of luxurious comfort. I don't know what's more luxury, knowing that you're going to die any minute. I don't know if that in any way is very luxurious, but for me, it's not. For other people, it's very aesthetic, I guess is the word to use. All right, so now let's jump into the tarot part of today's video. Okay, I hope you guys do like this. I remember hearing about a Titanic sister ship being made. Yeah, there were two. Actually, Titanic is not the original Titanic, by the way, in case you didn't know that. Is there one or a different ship called the Titanic 2 you're talking about? No, it's actually called the Titanic 2. I just call it Titanic Replica, just so you're not confusing it with the Titanic movie and the boat itself that's set to sail this year. So I'm calling Titanic Replica, and just for clarification. How can a fate happen twice? Okay, if you go in 2016, I dare you to look up the 2016 election and the 2020 election. I guarantee you, if you look up the result, it's 236, 306 to 232, and then in 2020, 306 to 232. So, in essence, it's possible, and also people have twins, so it's not out of the question, and it's not implausible either that it can indeed happen. Who will be allowed on the Titanic 2 will be limited to upper class rich. Actually, believe it or not, when they added information, they say that they're going to be the same level as poor, middle class, and upper. So it's going to be kind of the same way, giving you that same Titanic experience. So yes, there will be the upper class and the rich. So yes, there will be, indeed. Yes, it's exciting, but it's the doom part. Yes, for sure. Like, I'm really looking forward to go there and just kind of take a photo on the harbor, but that's only if it makes it to New York. Okay, let's jump into the part of the video. All right, so was it the book, The Wreck of the Titan of Futility, a prophecy that came true, or was it just a coincidence? Was the book that came out in 1898 that talks about a boat very similar to the fate of the Titanic, the original Titanic, that sunk in 1912, was it a prophecy, the book? Yes or no? Was it the prophecy? But one I feel like it's a love story. This is weird. I don't know why. I never read the book, so I don't know if there is a love story, but if you have, please confirm that. Okay. All right, so what I'm kind of seeing here is a no, but it's a yes. I feel like the guy might have, even though he's right when he said no, and rightfully so because he did not predict it. However, I do feel like in some way he was um you ever have like, okay, do you know how I do my challenge? You know how something goes through me and they sometimes just talk to you guys directly, or they sometimes tell me stuff in my ear? He kind of had the same thing, except they knew that he probably wasn't psychic. And so what they did was they probably put the thoughts in his head and he just wrote down, thinking that it's him thinking it, even though it was his guys putting them in. And what I'm seeing here, that it was basically a warning to people in the 1800s and the early 1900s to kind of warn them not to go on the ship. That's what it was. It was a warning. It wasn't necessarily a prophecy. It was just warning people not to go on the ship, right? It might have stayed people, right? We have the full card here. This is normally my glacier. I always talk about water, ice. It's reversed. It tells me it wasn't necessarily a prophecy. I feel like in some way he had a deeper understanding, potentially maybe climate change and global warming was a popular thing that he may have read upon. And so he probably knew an abnormal amount of knowledge than an average American or individual during that time period. So I do feel like in some way he had insane knowledge for the amount of person that he is. So he is very intelligent, but I do feel as well some of his thoughts were inputted by spiritual beings from the higher realm. We do have here as well as we have the we have the nine wands here, and that's on the left side here. I do feel like in some way the book was actually designed based on the history of another book. So another boat. So potentially what this means is that another boat may have suffered the same fate as the Titanic, but didn't get recognition or even known about. But because of that, maybe he knew somebody who was on that boat, and he wrote about it. And so maybe there was an inspiration. It felt like there was an inspiration for the Titan, which is the the boat name. It feels like in some way there is a correlation here, but it feels like the boat was an inspiration for the Titan, and Titan was basically almost like a warning for the Titanic, so to speak. That it's going history repeats itself. Basically, is what the warning is. So underneath the full card here, we have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have the 8 of Cups. Basically, a lot of people who read the book kind of like last minute decided not to go on the boat. And so what ended up happening was, funny enough, I don't know if this is true or not, but this is what I see in the cards here most of the time, majority of the time, like 99.95%. I see here that a lot of people made the decision if they read this book or they heard about it or something, decided in their gut that something felt off. And so they gave their tickets away to other people who really wanted to go on the boat. And because of that, they were able to save themselves and their legacy of their own family tree and stuff like that. But I do feel here like a lot of people gave their tickets away because they felt in their gut that something wasn't right. And I think they trusted that, and because of it actually saved lives. And what I can say here, there is somebody here who follows the channel. I am getting a little message for you as well that one of you guys is related to one of the people who was supposed to supposed to be on the Titanic, but ended up something happened and they decided not to go on the Titanic, and this what could be coming through as well. I am getting that for one of you guys, so I don't know who that is. So if you can confirm that, let me know. This person may come about it in a few years. I don't know if they're following me at the moment, but someone who is does have this, thing. Because your existence is basically based solely on this book or the intuition that turned the person away from going on that boat. We have here as well, we have the Lovers card here. Right, that is the future. It kind of showed like it's a duplicate. I'm seeing like a replica, but also a non-replica. So basically, what I'm seeing here is that Eve is like the original version of the Titanic, and the male is technically the second version, which is the Titanic replica. And when I say Titanic replica, I mean the one that is set to sail this year. And so that's what I'm seeing here. I'm seeing that they kind of had the same story, but the situation and circumstances surrounding it changed. So, for example, they may not crash into a glacier. It might be very well that the glacier was speeding at such a high speed and it crashes into it, very similar to the way the movie depicts in 2010. So it could very well be like that. I feel like the storyline is similar, but not exactly. So, they didn't account for all these different things as scenarios. You have here, we have the Three of Pentacles. And what I'm seeing here, that a lot of people, again, are going to try to beg to get on the ship. I don't know what it is, but people are just so wanting to go on this ship. They feel amused by it. They feel like they're a part of history. That even though they understand that the boat has a potentiality to sink, for some reason, that's what attracts people. But however, I do feel like something's empty, right? You have the people begging to come in. Here's my tickets. But then people are like, well, someone else took the spot, or almost like, oh, sorry, we can't help you anymore, and they kind of close the door. So I do feel like in some way there's going to be some sort of struggle, and they're going to treat people the same way they treated them in 1912, like the lower class, like disgusting, and upper class, like one of the best. Really honing in, insanely enough, really honing in on the Titanic experience. But this is really referring to both. I could be easily tapping into the original Titanic and the Titanic replica. Yes, yes, you're right. It's very monumental. Yes, it is indeed. And we have here the Queen of Wands. We have here as well. Is yes, it was a warning. It wasn't necessarily a psychic thing, but it was a warning from the spirit guides that was possessing in some way the author himself. But he may have not realized that. Okay, so the next question that we're going to ask is, what is the path and energy surrounding the Titanic replica? Will it sink? Give me mental images. So basically what I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to not get the movie and stuff like that, or the book itself. I'm trying to see if I can get any specific details without any sort of influence from any other reading, any other question that I'm about to do after the question. You know what I mean? So I'm going to try to close my eyes for like a second and try to get mental images so I can kind of describe what I'm seeing to you. Okay, so spirits and angels, tell me, what is the path and energy surrounding the Titanic replica? Okay. That's the energy surrounding. Oh, you can't see it. Okay, there you go. Now, what we have as well is we also have the energy deck here, and I'm going to use that deck, particularly to kind of get in more intuitively on what's happening with the Titanic. This is a very interesting topic, and not oftentimes than not, you don't really come across a YouTube video like this. So Spirit Angels tell me, what is the energy surrounding the Titanic replica? Will it sink? Can you provide me with mental images, feelings, energies? What is going to happen to the Titanic replica? What is going to happen to the Titanic replica? Okay, so that's the challenge here. One more. Okay, you told me that's it. Okay. And then we're going to see what the weather's like. We'll put that here. Okay, so Spirit and Angels, tell me what's the weather going to be like for the Titanic 2 replica? Is it going to sink? Let's put this here. Is the boat going to sink? Is the Titanic 2, the replica, is it going to sink? Okay, and here is the sinking card. Is it going to sink? I don't know. Okay, so let's see. We're asking about the energy here, the energy surrounding the Titanic 2. We have here the Page of Cups. When the first Titanic came out, it was seen as this monumental forward. It felt like the future was near, really. It felt like we were in the time of 2020, the 21st century, when it really was. And actually, believe it or not, it's actual angel number 1212 Eastern Standard Time if you live on the East Coast right now. But anyway, besides the point, we have the Page of Swords here, the Page of Cups here, and it's reversed, which tells me you kind of see here it's a little wavy, but it's also not in the background, which tells you could symbolize that the water at the moment, it could be rocky. The energy calm right now. That could potentially mean that the current path is that the boat could not even make it onto the water. It might just sink on its own. I do see here stillness, which is ironic because the boat was traveling in stillness water into the iceberg, but I don't see any sort of disruption. I just see like not even in the water. The boat's not even in the water, I assume. I'm not exactly sure. There's not much information, but that's what I'm seeing in the card here. Potentially, we have to wait till the boat's actually on water to know where it's heading. So again, that's already telling you in this video that there's going to be a part 2 video to this. We have here the goddess of the moon, which is 52, which is you add the number, it's a 7. I don't know what the 7 means, but no, that normally means a repeat. Excuse me. Okay, 7. Have you ever heard of the shedding when people shed? Every 7 years, they change their personality, their physical body, their shape, the face, everything. Same thing. It's a 7, which is why the challenge is to the stillness is change. So potentially what this could mean that maybe whatever happened during 1912 won't be very similar in terms of the water content. Maybe the water can be more chaotic, maybe there's more sharks, maybe different species. It's going to be a different situation. It's not going to be identical to the ocean as it was once when in 1912. Now, as for the energy on this side here, let me just move this sideways just so I can move this. Okay. You see it. We have it in other energy. Is we have non-fighting, which is ironic because it feels like defense, like you're defending yourself. It feels like this is defenseless. It almost feels like the boat is defenseless, like it cannot defend itself. I don't know if this is like metaphorical, like it cannot defend itself because maybe it was past and that people expect it to go down and stink, or it just means in essence that no matter how good the boat you make it, it's just doomed to fail, right? Let me ask the cow card. What does this mean? Can I get a clarify card here? What does that card mean? Okay. We have it Ace of Swords. It's not going to be as glorious as it once was. It's not going to get the attention that it once had, particularly because people already have the satisfaction that came with the movie Jack and Rose, and they feel like they're not going to get that same experience. A lot of people are going to be left dissatisfied because they have a high expectation than what they really should be expecting. And I'm seeing here as well the Ace of Swords here, which normally have this victory card. This is a victory card, but normally this means defeating the odds. Normally, if you guys may have remembered during the 2020 election, this was the card that represents defeating an incumbent and dethroning him. Right? In this case, dethroning, who are you dethroning? You're dethroning the fact and the concept that the boat sunk and that it will sink again. However, it's reversed, which tells me that they will not be able to defeat that, and the boat is almost likely, as of right now, it looks like it's going to sink. Right, it feels like in some way the boat is going to sink. That's what I feel like. This could be why the energy as of right now, is coming to me as defenseless. Like the boat just cannot defend itself. Now, as for the energy, the actual energy card, we have here the Angel of Strength, which is 50. It's reversed, which tells me, right, the Angel of Strength is reversed, which tells me the boat does not have the strength to actually withstand, what to call it, does not have the energy to withstand the weather, does not have the ability to be able to stay afloat. Now, what's interesting though is the first card that flew out of the deck here was Lake, stillness. We talked about stillness before, and I talk about that particularly because when you're in a lake, right, what's normally hidden in a lake? Alligators, stuff like that. When there's stillness, that's the most dangerous place to be because when things are still, you don't know what's coming. When things are chaotic, it's a lot easier to take in because you're focusing on so many things. You're able to bring in more information than if things were still. Because when things are still, you don't know where to focus. And that's what I'm seeing here as well. I'm seeing that there's something hidden that they cannot see above the water. Again, it could be a symbolization of a glacier as well. It could be an animal of some sort. We have here as well, we have grounding, right? We're talking about the okay, actually, funny enough, if you split it, okay, what is this? What does this look like to you? A mirror image, right? It's a mirror image, an exact replica. We're talking about the Titanic 2 being an exact replica of the original Titanic, right? But if you split the card in half, you see one of them is already in the ground, which is symbolizing here grounding, One Titanic is grounded. However, we also talked about the second boat also sinking. And also, as well, this could be symbolizing that the boat is doomed to sink, the second one, right? So if you're planning on going on the Titanic, you might want to rethink your priorities here, or at least get your will in check, whatever you prefer. Now, we also have here as well your spring equinox, rebirth, right? Renewed. We're talking about a renewal here, right? What this is talking about here, when you have a rebirth, an equinox, it's a change. It's a change from the current trajectory. What I'm seeing here is this rebirth is actually referring to is the fact that there's no change to the way things were before. Basically, meaning that if they both followed the same exact path and followed everything almost to the nine, it was going to be doomed to fail the same way it did before. But it's a little bit of a different circumstance because the situation is a little bit different, but it will almost have the exact same fate. Now, also another card as well is Rainbow Blessing. People think that they're receiving this blessing. Now, what it feels like as well, I do get the sense here that maybe there's going to be an outcome where they're both going to sail successfully for like a couple of times, and then it's going to start to reach some issues that they really didn't foresee, and that's when the problems are going to start. So I do see as well, they're both going to do pretty well for at least the first couple of weeks, maybe the first couple of months or even years, and then it's going to start to sink. Now, if it was to be released out in this year, it will have maybe potentially at least maximum 2 years. If it was to be pushed further, and even if it pushed into 2024, it's most likely to be very on par with the book. The book was 14 years apart from 1898 to 1912. If you take the movie, right, it came in 2010 to 2024, it would be exactly 14 years. So potentially it could be that COVID prolonged it a lot longer, and so or even construction work, and so that could be very well that it could end up sinking in 2024. We also have here as well, will it stink? This isn't exactly the card that you want to get if you want to know if the boat's going to sink. We have the Ten of Wands here. It's going to take a lot of work, a lot of construction. There's going to be a lot of issues that they didn't foresee. Now, remember, the Titanic is a very small boat compared to all the boats that we have today. And the wind and the water and everything today is a lot more rough than it was in 1912. And the reason for that is we have the moon orbit. The moon is closer to Earth than it has ever been for decades or even centuries. And so with the moon, it pulled up and has a strong attraction, which means we have bigger waves, bigger disasters. We also have high global climate change and stuff like that as well. And so you can also have to equate all these things, and the situation in the water is a lot different than in 1912. So that is what I'm seeing as for the energies here. I'm trying to get like a mental image. Trying to get a mental image. Okay, so I'm seeing on the railing, I don't have a picture, but I'm seeing on a railing here where Jack and Rose was, but I'm just using it as a reference if you watch the movie so you kind of know where I'm talking about. There's like the overview where some of the people jumped off the railing. There's like a square box, and it's like covered in white with like wooden molding, like handles. And I'm seeing people holding their iPhone, taking a picture of the view on the water, right? So I'm seeing like fogginess, but like a sky blue ocean. That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing like people are happy, people have their phone. So you can definitely tell you already that this is going to be sometime around this time period, potentially the next couple of years. So people will be still using phones, particularly Apple. And so I've seen some Samsung as well, and some Chinese phones. I don't know what it is. I know there's some Chinese phone there as well. What else? All right, so I'm getting a picture. I'm actually going to show you a picture because I actually have it. So I'm going to show you what I see in my third eye right now. So I'm seeing this image. You can kind of see the first top. We have like the dome, and it's like the really famous staircase. And so I'm seeing that like that dome, and I'm seeing the molding and the fantastic artwork. Really, it's really beautiful artwork, by the way. And I'm looking. I just kind of see like people just running, but it's also quiet. Like there's nobody there. It's like a ghost town. Like no one there. There's no sound. There's light, but there's nothing. Then I'm starting to see from the top of the drum, like water starting to pour in and starting to crack. And I'm starting to sense the energy of anxiety and panic. But like there's no one in the hallway, the main area, so I don't see anybody, but I see panic. I sense it, I feel it. I even feel like worried. I feel like people suffocating. I feel like people are having a hard time. I feel like they made it too identical to the original, that it suffered the same fate as the original. So that's what I'm seeing in terms of mental images. If I get any more, I'll tell you more. Yeah, he made one. He made it. It's set to sell this year. We're not sure if it's exactly going to sell, but as of right now, the cards tell me that it's going to suffer the same fate. So that's interesting to see how that will play out. Okay, this is the same card, two separate cards, either together. Okay, so while we're waiting, we're going to do the next question. Will it stink? Yes. Okay, now the next question that we're going to cover is, does the 2010 Titanic 2 movie a prophecy for the Titanic replica as it was for the book for the original? So basically the question is, the book was a warning to people going on the Titanic, the original in 1912. I'm asking that the 2010 Titanic 2 movie a prophecy or even a warning for people going on the Titanic 2. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Let's see. That the 2010 Titanic 2 movie a prophecy for the Titanic replica. For people going on the Titanic 2. Okay, we have a challenge here. And bottom card. Okay, let's take a look. See what the cards have to say. Ooh, okay. All right, so we have the chariot card. Right now, this is my card for ambulance, right? A lot of you guys know this, or some of you guys know this. This is my card for ambulance. You look at the red sign, it's the red cross, right? And so this kind of symbolizes being fast paced, things happening, right? But you kind of see here that Egypt is kind of talking about Asian, right? 1912 is considered Asian by young people or baby standards, right? And so you can kind of tell already that this is an old relic. But we have here the vehicle was no longer in operation, was in operation. It was seen at the Starliner. What's actually ironic enough, if you look at it, it's the Blue Starliner, which is the name of the cruise line for Titanic. And it has it in this drape. And that's reversed. Because it's in the water, it's sunk into the ground, it's no longer in operation. The question that we're asking, does the 2010 Titanic 2 movie a prophecy for the Titanic, the replica? And the card that challenges it is the Tower card. This tells me yes. 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 It is a prophecy. Very different than what we asked about the book. The book was a warning to people going on Titanic in 1912. Basically, what I'm sensing and the energy and the word that I'm getting in my head now is that they said that because you chose not to listen to the warning, you did not heed to the warning in 1912, you shall suffer the same fate when the time comes when there's a replica. Something very similar to that. That's what I heard. And so that's why the Tower card is here. The Tower card is symbolizing, because you chose not to listen to the warning, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. That's what it's telling you, that this is your fault. If you go on this boat, it would be nobody else to blame but you, because you knew what was going to happen. And you did it anyway. You did not listen. That's the challenge to the question, right? We also have here the King of Cups. The water, remember we talked about stillness. We're talking about the water being very, very different from 1912 to now. You have the King of Cups, the King of the Sea, right? And what it is telling me that the Titanic is not the King of the Sea. It will not be able to survive in the water, right? And you see here, you see the water being roughed. Yes, the platform was able to stabilize a little bit, but remember what I told you. They were not able, when they made the boat, they made it too identical to the original that they forgot that the original, the way it was designed, it's too small for the climate change and the water current and the strength and power of the moon is unable to sustain itself and have enough strength to be able to fight all those things, and therefore it will suffer its demise based on the simple understanding that they did not replicate it by doubling or tripling the size from 1912. Instead, they chose to replicate it almost identically, and therefore it's going to suffer an even worse fate. We have here as well as underneath the chariot is we have the Page of Pentacles, right? People thinking that, oh, because of higher technology that, this is going to be a lot better. Let me tell you a little something. If when you go on an airplane, right? Airplane does not have 21st century technology. You want to know what technology they're using? 1980 technology on airplanes. In the next 20, 30 years, they're going to use 2000 technology. And then they're going to use our technology from this decade about almost 50 to 60 years from now. That's because they need to be able to mass produce it, which means that the boat is most likely not, when they say updated, they're probably talking about 1980, 1990 technology navigation system. If you ever seen and you ever watch a video on the navigation of marine time, they're not up to date machinery. They don't even look modern. They look like 1990 screen and the big bulky technology. That's because the technology is not up to date to the standard that's supposed to be. And so that's what I'm saying here. The Page of Pentacles, people in their mind thinking that, oh my God, it's false advertisement, basically what this is. It's false advertisement. Oh my God, I'm going to be safe. They have updated technology, safety procedures, but really, it's not safety procedures. It's really just 1980 technology. Good luck. I mean, really. I bet on the right side here is we have the Three of Pentacles reversed. Right? The 2010 Titanic 2 movie, A Prophecy for the Titanic Replica. Yes. But it won't be exactly as scripted. It might be worse. It might be a little bit better, but it won't be exactly identical. But what I'm also getting from the cut as well, that people won't know a lot about the movie itself, so they're not going to be able to know that there was actually a movie made on what was happening to the boat prior to its sinking, which is in 2022, whenever the boat sailed and whenever it sinks, who knows. But yeah, so yes, it is a prophecy, without a doubt. Okay, so with all the updated technology and safety procedures, will it be enough to prevent it from the past repeating? We basically answered this, but we can go into a little bit deeper understanding to kind of find out what parts aren't working. And, if you're going to go on the boat, just go on the boat, but don't stay on the boat. Just leave the boat before it leaves the dock. Just take pictures with your friends, family, whatnot, and then leave. Don't stay on the boat. Okay? Unless you want to die, then I guess that's a good way to die, is drowning in the water, begging for Jack, even though Jack doesn't exist. Jack, I'll never let go. Okay, sorry. And then, what's the song? My Heart Will Always Go On. Song plays in the background as you start to drown into the cold, icy waters, dying slowly, trying to look for that pearl, the heart of the sea. Okay, so Spirit Angel Tommy, with all the updated technology and safety procedures, will it be enough to prevent the Titanic 2, from repeating its past from 1912, from its original? Okay. I kind of want to see the water because the water is very important here. So let's take a look. Where is the deck? Where's the original deck? Oh, there it is. Okay. Let's take a look. Spirit Angel, please tell me about the updated technology and safety procedures. Will it be enough to prevent the Titanic 2 from repeating its past? Will it be enough to prevent it from repeating? Okay. I'm not sure if the spirit guides are being sassy, but I have a feeling they might be. Oh, Chris, I told you that my grandmother family owned a company that made a Titanic sister ship. Would you believe me? Yeah. I literally just made a comment earlier. If you rewind the video, I literally said earlier in today's video, I talked about somebody who follows my channel is somehow related to the Titanic. And I literally said that, and so you've just proved my intuition is correct. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for proving that. Yes, I do believe you. Okay, so all right, so let me go back to the question. I got dice rack. I'm sorry. All right, well, with all the updated technology and safety procedure, will it be enough to prevent it from the past repeating? We have here the card is we have the Queen of Wands. This is the card that represents the original Titanic, right? And this is the card that represents the replica, right? You kind of see two very different women, right? We have here the original, the baddie of the sea, that type of thing. That's what we see here. This is the original Titanic. Right, unfortunately, she met her demise. What we have here as well is we have the Queen of Cups. Queen of Cups is a very emotional card. It talks about stillness in the ocean and be able to maintain things at a very minimal level, prevent them from overflowing and getting chaotic. Right, she is the king of the sea, the queen of the sea, in some way. But you kind of see here, she's there, she's on water, but she's also on land as well. It feels like as well that they haven't really learned from the past, which is why this card is in reverse, right? And the card that represents that challenges it is reacting. It's updated technology enough to prevent it from repeating its past history. No, it is not enough because they have not looked at all the features. Like I said, the boat is too small for the problem that is occurring in the United States. I mean, occurring in the ocean and the world in terms of climate change. You're serious, right? By the way, you're serious about this? I'm curious. I know you put the thumbs up, but I'm curious to see. Okay, so let's see. Is it enough? We have here money. The money was an issue. Potentially, maybe he cut corners, kind of very like a businessman. So if you're planning on going on there, I wouldn't go on there because I feel like there was corners cut. We have here as well as Knight of Wands, revisiting the past, right? Trying to run away from it, but it's not working, right? We have here the guy in the knight in shining armor. We have the old ancient time, medieval time period, medieval thinking. We have here Egypt, and we have orange. And what this really refers to here is the guy kind of running towards cutting corners. And so part of the reason why everything's happening, it kind of feels like he didn't really specify what parts were updated and what part was safety procedure. You can kind of see that it was very vague. And normally, if you really wanted to make sure that people felt comfortable going on a boat, you would be as specific as possible, especially with a history based on a boat that the exact model was sunk prior. And so it feels like already that this guy is cutting corners and that maybe he's not telling people the truth that they really need to know. Right? He's basically playing with lies for his own little enjoyment. We have here as well as we have the Sun card. No, the answer is an automatic no. The updated technology and safety procedures is not enough, right? If that's not further clarification, I don't know what is. Now, as for like what's happening with the Earth and why it's not good, Earth magic, right? Earth magic. We're talking about Earth undergoing and change, right? That's fairies. It's also challenged by lake stillness. Now, if you were watching the video from early on, you may have remembered when I said anything that's still is the most dangerous. Why is water the most dangerous when it's still? Because you don't know what's underneath it. You don't know what lies ahead. When things are chaotic, you kind of know how to maneuver because you're paying attention. But when things are calm, you relax, you become vulnerable, and you're not paying attention, and that's how things happen. For example, that's how the original Titanic crashed into the iceberg, people got relaxed. They didn't see the water was too still, and because things were still, it becomes foggy and it becomes hard to see. And so that's interesting that that card comes up. So yes, it will not be enough. They probably did not even account for the fog, right? I mean, no brainers in the movie. Why not do something about that? That is the story of Titanic 2, round number 2. And so if you have not already, by the way, I'm not being funded by the company or movie. If you want to give a go and watch Titanic 2, you can watch this free on Tubi, Vuvu, and of course, Pluto TV. It's all free. There's no reason for you to pay for it. Apparently, what the tower cards stated today, that almost basically identical, that the storyline is going to be very closely matched to Titanic 2, the movie. So if you want to give it a go, definitely consider watching it just to kind of get a deeper understanding what's happening. And also as well, if you're interested in reading the book that led to the warning of 1912 Titanic sinking, the wreck of the Titan. So there's the book there. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully, I do not have to make another video on this. But if we do, I would definitely do another one in the future when it's actually going to set sail into the ocean. And we'll take a look and compare what happened from this video to that video. But other than that, I love you guys. Have a very beautiful night. This video will be cut in half into 2 segments just to make it easier for viewing. Anyway, guys, I love you. Have a very beautiful night. Thank you all for attending.